audience, today I Shahriyar Zishan is here to give you awareness on the new research recently discovered about COVID-19. You already know about COVID-19 and its symptoms and the things. So let's get started and discover the new research. Introduction. Dear audience, now let me introduce COVID-19. You already know about COVID-19 and its symptoms because you have gone through a pandemic nowadays. So, what is COVID-19? COVID-19 is an infectious disease caused by severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus 2, also known as SARS-CoV-21. This disease was first identified in December 2019 in Wuhan, the capital of China's Hubei province, and has since spread globally, resulting in an ongoing pandemic from 2019 till 2020. Coronavirus, also known as coronavirus pandemic. Now, we have to break the chain over here. You already know about breaking the chain, but let me elaborate a little bit. Social distancing helps to limit the contact with infected person and contaminated surface. Although the risk of severe illness may be different from everyone, so the symptoms of COVID-19 are different, and everyone can get and spread COVID-19. So there is no age regulation so everyone can get a pandemic. How to break the chain? Wash your hand with soap water to minimize the infection of risk. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and cover your mouth or nose while sneezing or coughing. And also note that only infected person must wear a mask. Now let us move into the recent research that has recently been discovered. But I repeat, before hearing that research, don't panic and just take it with a grain of salt. I will elaborate the research in a nutshell. So let's get started. Fear-plexing elaboration. Dear audience, now let us start with the new research. More than half of the patients and staff with COVID-19 monitored by an Irish hospital suffered with persistent fatigue and in aftermath of the initial disease. According to a new study Friday highlighting the significant burden of lingering symptoms, it comes with patients as groups and doctors. More research into medium and long-term effects of the new coronavirus, which is sickened more than 30 million of the people across worldwide and has killed at least 1 million of them. Now that increases much more depression. So I repeat, but don't panic. The study has shown that long COVID, which is being presented as the European Society of the Clinical Microbiology and Infectious Diseases Conference on COVID-19 disease later this month, suggests that those affected are worthy of further study and early intervention. As the pandemic has scorched its way across the planet, more attention has been focused on to immediate impact measured by the hospital and administration deaths. But it has come increasingly clear that virus can remembrate and long-term patient has been recovered. After this, in July, a study of recovered hospital patients in Italy found that 87% were still suffering at least one symptom 60 days after falling ill. Fatigue and breathing difficulties were most common. Research from King's College London, which is behind a large symptom tracking project, estimate that in 10 people using the app still have symptoms after 30 days and will remain unwell for months. Dear audience, let me say one more thing, that the asymptomatic patients don't transfer the COVID-19. because they don't have the system, and they are actually containing the virus, but they don't have symptoms of the virus. So the virus is in them and their body knows that this is virus, so they are not even transmitting it and they are not even affected. So if you are asymptomatic, then you don't need to worry at all. CDC just revealed its controversial COVID-19 testing guidelines. And yes, on August 24, the CDC updated its testing guidelines to say that being exposed to a person with COVID-19 doesn't necessarily warrant a test for those who are low risk or are not showing any symptoms. Dear audience, actually the WHO has endorsed testing traditional herbal medicines against the COVID-19. The WHO organization has endorsed Saturday a protocol for testing an African herbal medicine as a potential treatment for the coronavirus and other epidemics. COVID-19 has risen due to the issue of traditional magic. Due to the issue of using traditional medicine to battle the compensatory disease, and the endorsement clearly encouraged testing with criteria similar to use of molecules developed by labs in Asia, Europe, or the Americans. It came months after a bid by the president of Madagascar to promote a drink based on a plant with proven efficiency in malaria treatment was met with a widespread scorn. If a traditional medicine product is safe to be and qualified assure, WHO will recommend it for fast trackers a large scale manufacturing. Prosper, a regional WHO director, was quoted saying this. Now, here I actually have to tell you one thing, that in May, WHO Africa doctor told media that African's government had committed in 2000 to take traditional therapies through the same clinical trials as the medication. Now here you see that if like onset of COVID-19, the Ebola outbreak in Western Africa has highlighted the need for strengthened health systems and accelerated research development programs, including the traditional. Dear audience, coronavirus vaccines aren't being tested in kids, and experts are concerned. Progression on COVID-19 vaccine has moved remarkably first since the novel virus was first identified and sequenced in January. The leading and experimental shots are now final stage of the clinic trials, are a result of expected as soon as the next month. But the progression has focused on crafting and testing a vaccine for adults. Children have yet to be involved in any coronavirus vaccine trials, leaving some experts to worry that children could be left without a variable COVID-19 vaccine for some period of time. Drug makers usually test a vaccine in children before they seek approval to give the shots to kids. Now, here I evoke a quote said by told by the New York Times and Carl Zeimer. The lack of information on how and when the drug makers plan to test their coronavirus shots in kids has caused a concern among and vaccine experts. Right now, I am pretty worried that we won't have a vaccine available for kids by the start of the next school year. It is said by Dr. Evan Anderson and at the Children's Healthcare of Atlantica. Elucidating the light and the dark side of now we are to elucidate the light and dark side about COVID-19. You all know the dark side very well, but I am going to elucidate the light side first. Here's what we know about the antibody treatment Trump is getting for COVID-19. US President Donald Trump will send the coming days in a military hospital just outside Washington to undergo treatment for COVID-19 after received experiment and unproven treatment. So here it says it is unproven treatment, White House officials said Friday. The announcement raised the concern about the severity of the president's illness after his chief of staff had earlier told the reporters that Trump had only mild symptoms. At the recommendation of his physicians and medical experts, the president will be working from presidential office at the Walter Reed for the next few days. Now, the treatment is undergoing clinical trials but hasn't yet received any form of regulatory approval. So, Trump, who has been repeatedly cast doubt about the seriousness of the pandemic, first announced an overnight tweet that he had First Lady Melania Trump 50 had tested positive and we are going into quarantine. So, it's a bad news, but it is bad science, bad medicine, and bad ethics to give unproven things to powerful people that don't give to average people, added Vinay Prasad, an associate professor of medical university at California, San Francisco. Results are promising, but the global death toll of the virus has now passed 1 million. Even more depression. Let's leave this paragraph. More than 1 million people have died from COVID-19. Okay, so it is getting deadlier, but we may finally know a molecular reason why COVID-19 is so deadly. But for some reason, among the million or lives lost to COVID-19, there are stories that decipher the understanding of healthy bodies and young and in their prime. The virus as easy as they are amongst the most renewable, while for others their age group the virus is only produces mild symptoms, if any. Now let me clear one thing, my fellows, that there cannot be a vaccine of virus. You have to create a herd immunity in yourself, so you are on upon its own, and it's in our hands, literally it's in our hands to prevent this pandemic from spreading all over the world. After this, and I have a theory over here that coronavirus may be evolved from the influenza virus, because from the coronavirus, when the coronavirus pandemic started, we are not getting any symptoms of flu or any cases of influenza, so it maybe have evolved from the influenza. I have a theory that this, and as for the vaccine of coronavirus, there will be no vaccine, so we have to work on our herd immunity. The research also offers some molecular explanation for why some men seem to have impacted by the virus more severely than women. One of the new studies show more than 10% of healthy people who ended up with severe COVID-19 symptoms have antibiotics that attack the patients on and stop them from fighting the COVID-19 virus. Other study looked at patients who were hospitalized with severe symptoms. Some of them are still in 20s and found at least another 3.5% of carried genetic mutations that stopped working properly. These findings provide compelling evidence that disrupt the often cause the disease of life-threatening, the COVID-19. You all know that is life-threatening. And over here, these findings will provide compelling evidence that disruption of the human genetics of the infectious disease at the Rockler University. Now, dear audience, I want to share that COVID-19 attacks your brain as well, and it depletes your sense of smell and taste because it attacks on the enzymes of your tongue and your nose. Anecdotal time. So, did you know, dear audience, that the new research is basically all about that COVID-19 affects your brain, and it finishes your sense of smell, and actually the sense of taste. I will now move on to the standing health and social inequalities have resulted in the increase of risks for infection and severe outcomes of COVID-19 in the communities of color. The author said, I believe, and I have a theory over here, that even if there is no vaccine and you just assume that this is the vaccine, even though it's a simple any liquid, even if you assume that your brain will release positive enzymes that can cure you from any disease, so don't panic. Just believe in yourself, drink lots of water, and drink honey, and increase the use of fibers, so that will prevent you from COVID-19. A combination therapy of two antibiotics working together was shown to be effective in a Pavlico-controlled phase 2 middle stage study of 268 patients with mild to moderate COVID-19. Improvement in the symptoms was seen as early as 3 days after endorsing. Now, as we evolve and as we get immune to this virus, it is really important to actually, I repeat, that believe in yourself and just don't panic. The trial is going on, and Lilly wants to recruit a total of 800 people. Now, here you can see the therapies are also being tested for the potential use as a prophylaxis and as a treatment for hospitalized patients in separate trials. Lilly said that it expects to have 100,000 dozens of monotherapy available this month and a million by the end of this year. Experts also have to have 50,000 dozens of combination of therapy by the end of 2020. Both antibiotics work by binding to different parts of spirit-like proteins on surface of coronavirus, distorting their surface so the virus can't invade the living cells. Antibiotics are infection-fighting proteins made by immune system, can also be harvested from recovered patients, but it is not though possible to so-called convalescent plasma is a mass treatment. So actually, when you donate your plasma and your blood, if you have been exposed to COVID-19 and you don't even know it, if you have survived the pandemic up till now, it means that you are 80 to 90% immune to the pandemic. So if you donate your blood, it can help many other, and it can save many other lives, and it can also help to create herd immunity. I believe that we will finish this pandemic at the end of 2020, inshallah, and we will also actually fight this pandemic by actually following the precautions. Now, here's the first thing you need to know if you think you have been exposed to COVID-19. If you have recently been around to somewhere who has COVID-19, the disease has by caused coronavirus, getting tested should not be the first thing on your to-do list. If you have been exposed and get into quarantine, professor and the public health expert Lasia Lee, who has spent 14 years previously working in the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, told Insider. Immediately separate yourself from someone else and do this for 14 days. On average, it takes about 5 to 4 days after someone has infected with the coronavirus from them to show the symptoms of illness, but the virus's incubation period can last from 2 to 14 days, which is why recommended COVID quarantine period is 2 weeks full. No matter how you feel during this time, what you test results may show. A cessation for you. Dear audience, today's session for you is to tell me about the herd immunity and the preventions you can take for COVID-19. See you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching another video of the Twilight Zone. I hope you learned something new, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe my channel, hit the little dingy bell, and like my videos, and keep following, keep watching. And I repeat,